Welcome to my channel! Good evening! Sa ngayon, gabi na naman yung schedule natin. To try natin na bago matulog, magbabasa muna ako ng libro. Kahit konti lang. Yun naman yung ita-target natin sa episode na to. So, sana mag-subscribe kayo, mag-like, and mag-comment para mas maging okay yung channel natin. Saka, mas marami tayong matututunan. Sabay tayong matuto sa mga binabasa ko. Ngayon, ang babasahin natin is Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The author is John Gray, Dr. John Gray. For everyone who has read the phenomenal #1 bestseller, Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Relationship skills for lasting love. A new revised edition of what your mother couldn't tell you and your father didn't know. This book is dedicated to deepest love and gratitude to my parents, David and Virginia Gray. Their undying love, trust, and encouragement continues to surround and support me in my journey as a teacher, husband, and father. This book contains 10 chapters. Let's enjoy these chapters. Acknowledgements. I thank my wife, Bonnie, for once again sharing the journey of developing a book with me. I thank her for her continued patience and support in helping me to be successful as a loving mate and father to our children. I also thank her for allowing me to share our stories, and especially for continuing to expand my understanding and ability to honor the female perspective. Her insightful suggestions and comments have provided an important and necessary balance. I thank our 3 daughters, Shannon, Juliet, Lauren, for their love and admiration. The joy of being a parent helps immensely to offset the pressures of a very business lifestyle. I thank them for their raw wisdom and appreciation of what I do. Particularly, I want to thank Lauren for painting the sign in my office. Please, Daddy, finish the book. Hurry. I thank my father, David Gray, for attending my seminars on relationships. His support and belief in me in my work was and still is immensely helpful. His candid sharing of his successes and failures in his relationships helped me to understand the difference between our generations. Although he didn't know the skills for growing an intimacy, he did his best, and for that, I learned that I could make mistakes and still be worthy of love. He is remembered by many as a loving, charming, and generous man. I thank my mother, Virginia Gray, for the many intelligent and fun conversations we have had on how women and men in her generation behave and reacted in relationships. Times have certainly changed. I thank her for allowing me to share stories from her marriage and for her persistent accepting and embracing love that surrounds to support me in everything I do. I thank all my 5 brothers and sisters for our long discussions into the night at holiday get-togethers. I thank my oldest brother, David, and his wife, Doris, for their keen insight and their appreciation of my new and creative ideas as well as their challenges. I thank my brother William and his wife Edwina for sharing with me the more traditional perspectives. I thank my brother Robert once again for his brilliant and spiritual ideas that fundamentally support everything I talk about. I thank my brother Tom for his continued encouragement and pride in my success. I thank him for the many personal conversations when he has shared his insight about men and women. I thank my sister Virginia for her openness and loving interest in my life, and her candid and discerning understanding of herself as a woman. I thank my deceased younger brother, Jimmy, for his special love and generous spirit. His memory and spirit continue to touch my heart and support me through my most difficult times. I thank Lucille Brisset for her special and loving support of me since I was 6 years old. She was always there for me and still is. In her store in Houston, the Aquarian Age Bookshelf, she had displayed my books out front for every 10 years. For over 10 years. I thank her for always believing in me. I thank my agent, Patty Brethman, for her helpful assistant, brilliant creativity, and enthusiasms that have guided this book from its conception to its completion. She is a special angel in my life. I thank Carol Bignick, who connected Patty and me together for the beginning of our first project, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I thank Susan Moldon for her wit and editorial clarity, and although she only worked on this book at the beginning, her savvy comments directed and molded its unfoldment. I thank Nancy Piskey for her persistent editorial expertise and creativity throughout the whole process. I thank Caroline Fireside for her editorial contributions. I thank Jack Macchio for his interest and committed support for this project since it's the beginning, for the support of the entire staff at HarperCollins for their continued responsiveness to my needs. I thank Michael Nagarian and his wife, Susan, for the successful organization of so many seminars. I thank Michael for the many extra hours of creative planning plus the important and insightful feedback he has given to me in developing and testing this material. I thank the many different promoters and organizers who have put their hearts and soul into producing and supporting seminars for me to teach and develop the material in this book. Ellie and Ayan Coren in Santa Cruz, Ellis and Consuelo Coldfret in Santa Cruz, Sandy Mack in Houston, Richie and Deborah Mott in Honolulu, Gary Francel of Heart Seminars in Honolulu, Bill and Judy Elbring of Life Partners in San Francisco, David Farlow and Jolie Rich Seeker in San Diego, David and Marcy of Phil in Detroit, Fred Kilner and Mary Ritt in Washington, D.C., Clark and Dottie Partels in Seattle, Erlin and Jim Carillo in Las Vegas, Bart and Meryl Behrens in L.A., Grace Merrick of the Dallas Unity Church. I thank Richard Coe and Cindy Black in the staff at Beyond Words Publishing for their continued support in promoting and publishing my book, Men, Women, and Relationships, which give birth to the ideas in this book. I thank John Westman at Studio One Recording for his expert audio recording at my seminars. I thank Dave Morton and the staff at Cassette Express for their continued appreciation of this material and their quality service. I thank Bonnie Solo for her competence and gentle support in producing the audio version of this book as well as the staff of Harper Audio. I thank Rami Baltrawi of Genesis Snowborn Associates and his wife, Rhonda, for the successful creation and ongoing production of television infomercial, making available audio and video presentations of my seminars. I thank my executive assistants, Ariana Hasban, for her hard work, devotion, and efficient managing of my schedule in office. I thank my chiropractor, Terry Safford, for the incredible support he provided twice a week during the most intensive 6 months of this project. I thank Raymond Himmel for his many acupuncture sessions at the end of this project that miraculously healed me of dizziness and exhaustions. I thank Rennie Wesco for her amazing and powerful healing session with me and the rest of my family. I thank my friends and associates for their open, honest, and supportive sharing of ideas and feedback. Clifford Macar, Jim Kennedy and Anna Everest, John and Bonnie Gray, Reggie and Andrea Hankart, Lee and Joyce Shapiro, Marcia Sutton, Gabrielle Granfield, Harold Bloomfield, and Sarah Vittis, Jordan Paul, Lenny Ager, Charles Wood, Jacques Early, Chris John, Mike Bush, and Doe Aarons. I thank Oprah Winfrey for her warm and personal support and the opportunity to share freely my ideas on her show before 30 million viewers. I thank the thousands of participants of my relationship seminars who share their stories and encouraged me to write this book. Their positive and loving support, along with the thousands of calls and letters I have received from readers, continues to support me in developing and validating the principles of this book. Particularly for the enormous success of my previous books, I wish to thank the millions of readers who do not only have shared my books with others, but continue to benefit from these ideas in their lives and relationships. I give thanks to God for the opportunity to make a difference in this world in the simple but effective wisdom that comes to me and is presented in this book. Mars and Venus together forever. Relationship skills for lasting love. Introduction. In the 50s, when I was growing up, my father secretly confessed to my mother that he was having an affair. What had probably started out as a moment of passion gradually became more serious. He asked my mother for a divorce. My mother loved my father and was deeply hurt. Instead of sharing her tender feelings for showing him how much she loved and needed him, she became strong. In the most loving way she knew, she said, "If that's what you want, then I will give you a divorce. Let's think about it for a month and then you decide." Fate intervened when a week later, my mother discovered that she was pregnant with their seventh child. With this new responsibility, my father decided not to leave her in the family. My mother was very happy. Nothing more was said about his other interests. For several years, he continued to have affairs in other cities, but they never talked about it. Though they never divorced, this was a major turning point in their relationship. They continued to love and support each other as husband and wife, but something was missing. The loving romance and playfulness of love slowly began to disappear. When I became an adult, I eventually heard the rumors of my dad's affairs and asked him about it. His response was, "What you don't know can't hurt you." As I persisted in asking more questions, that is all he would tell me. I realized that this was the way he had justified his affairs. He didn't want to hurt my mother and had rationalized that if he was discreet, she wouldn't be hurt. To some extent, he was right. My mother seemed to be okay with his affairs and never broached the subject or asked him to stop. What neither of them knew was that without monogamy, they would eventually snap out of the delicate and tender feelings of affection that attracted them to each other. Like many couples, they mistakenly assumed that it was natural to lose physical attraction and passion after years of marriage. After my father's death, Mom and I came across a snapshot of him with one of his mistresses. When my mother saw it, tears came to her eyes, tears that were not shed when he was alive. I knew why she was crying. I could feel her pain at seeing him so open and free with another woman, seeing in his eyes the sparkle they had once shared, but which had gradually disappeared from their relationship. I also feel the personal pain of never having seen my dad so happy. He'd been a loving father, but often moody, angry, or depressed. In this picture, in his secret world, he was charming, helpful, and happy. This was the father I longed to know and be like. When I asked my mother why she thought he had felt the need to stray, she answered, "Your father and I love each other very much. But as the years passed, I became a mother, and your father wanted a wife." I was amazed by how she was so accepting of his infidelity. She told me, "I admire your father for staying. It was a great sacrifice on his part. He had strong desires, but he didn't desert us." On that day, I couldn't finally understand why he had betrayed her. He had stopped being romantically attracted to her and just didn't know what to do about it. He didn't know how to share the responsibilities of a family and also be romantic. He didn't know how to bring back the passion and joy in the relationship. If he had known, he would not have given up and strayed. I also realized that my mother had done the best she could. She knew too well how to be a loving mother, but was not adept at the art of keeping romance alive. She was following in the footsteps of her mother and her mother's mother. It was, after all, a different world then, with different rules. In the days of my mother's youth, with the Depression followed by World War II, survival was more important than romantic and emotional needs. People just didn't reveal their inner feelings. My mother was too busy uh, raising six and later seven children to explore her feelings. Even if she had, she would never have considered sharing her heartaches with Dad, and she wouldn't have known how to unburden herself without making him feel controlled or defensive. When my father decided not to leave, she was enormously relieved that the family would stay intact. She, like her female ancestors, put the good of her family ahead of personal needs. My father also put aside his personal needs and honored his commitment to the family by staying married. But like his male ancestors, continued discreetly to have affairs on the side. Despite everything, my mother assured me that they love each other very much, and in many ways grew closer through the years. While my mother's and father's story is common to many people of our parents' and grandparents' generations, we men and women of today want, expect, and require more from our relationships. At a time when the whole basis for marriage has dramatically altered, we no longer meet for survival and protection, but for love, romance, and emotional fulfillment. Now, many of the rules and strategies our parents used to keep their marriages together have become ineffective and even counterproductive. Unfortunately, it could be said that we all have doctors in conducting relationships that are just like our parents, since we live with them for 18 years or more and unconsciously learn how to behave and react from them. For this simple reason, childhood experience heavily influences the quality of our relationship in later life. Even if our parents dearly love us, they could not teach us what they did not know. They could not give us solution to problems that did not exist in their lifetimes. We, their heirs, are pioneers in a new frontier, facing new problems that required new strategies. We do not only have to master new relationships skills, but also shoulder the additional burden of unlearning what we learned from our parents. And what are these new lessons and rules? What do we need in order to feel fulfilled? Women today no longer primarily need men to provide and protect on a physical level. They want men to provide on an emotional level as well. Men today also want more than homemakers and mothers for their children. They want women to nurture their emotional needs, but not to mother them or treat them like children. I'm not saying that our parents didn't want emotional support. It was just not their primary expectation. It was enough for mom if dad worked and provided. It was enough for dad if man managed the house and kids and didn't constantly nag him. What was good enough for our parents isn't good enough for us. We are no longer willing to make such enormous personal sacrifices. We demand and deserve lasting happiness, intimacy, and passion with a single partner. If we don't get it, many are prepared to sacrifice the marriage. Personal fulfillment has become more important than the family unit. Recent national statistic reveals that our astronomical average of 2 out of 4 marriages end in divorce, and the rate is rising. In California, the figure is 3 out of 4. Over 50% of America's school children come from broken homes, while other 30% of babies are born out of wedlock. Domestic violence, crime, drug addiction, and the use of psychological medication are at an all-time high. Without doubt, the breakdown of the family is largely responsible for such alarming statistics. These new problems raise critical questions. Are we to turn back the clock, deny our personal needs, and suddenly make the family more important? Are we to simply endure a marriage that is not emotionally satisfying for the sake of others. While these strategies have worked to ensure our survival in the past, they are not obvious, they are not options when our priority is personal fulfillment. In most cases, the solution is not divorce nor it is self-sacrifice. Instead, the answer lies in learning how to create relationships and marriages that support our personal fulfillment. There is nothing bad or narcissistic about wanting more than our parents did. The truth is that times have changed and our values have changed with them. Now that civilization, to a great extent, ensures our physical survival and security, it also provides us with the physical freedom to be ourselves. No longer motivated by basic drives but by higher needs, we expect more from ourselves and lives. As a result, we look to our relationship for the emotional support to help us be all we can. In this generational movement toward wholeness, women are developing the masculine side of their natures and men are moving toward acknowledging their feminine sides. Women want to be more mothers and homemakers. They want to make a difference in the world outside the home. Men also aspire to be more warriors and work machines. They want affectionate and loving relationship in the home, more time for recreation and greater participation in child rearing. The age-old distinction between male and female rules have suddenly blurred, creating confusion and frustration. At this time of transition, getting the emotional support we need from our parents can be difficult. While statistics reveal that millions of couples are facing the possibility of breakup, Mars and Venus together forever demonstrates clearly and simply why relationship problems are inevitable and offers a host of practical insight and suggestion for developing new skills to ensure more loving and fulfilling unions. For those of you in a great relationship, these skills will make it even better. You'd learn how to smooth the rough edges, iron things out, and bring back the passion of the first few years together. Literally, let, literally, thousands of couples attending my relationship seminar has been delighted to discover a greater mutual passion than they even felt before. In addition to making a good relationship better, these new skills ensured that your marriage will continue to grow in love. If you are single, this book will be a revelation. It will give you a hope that you can have better relationships. It will allow you to view past mistakes without feeling guilty or bad. It will make it easier to forgive those who have hurt or disappointed you. By clearly seeing others' mistake with a new awareness that they just didn't know better, layers of resentment will be released. This newfound openness will lighten your heart's burden and allow you to draw the perfect person for you into your life. In addition, you will learn new skills so that you won't unknowingly turn off this special person or create unnecessary problems. If you are presently experiencing problems in a relationship, this book will reassure you that you're not alone. In many cases, you discover that there is nothing wrong with you or your partner. It is simply that you never learned the necessary skills for making a relationship work. Over and over, I've witnessed couples on the verge of divorce miraculously fall in love again through discovering and recognizing the through discovering and recognizing their mistakes. They do not feel so powerless and hopeless. Their hearts open up again. Understanding the problem lets them release their blame and begin practicing new skills. As they quickly get results, their relationships are profoundly transformed. After 23 years of marriage, Linda and Darrell were ready to give up and sign their divorce papers. They, like so many couples, didn't really want to split up but weren't getting what they needed from each other and knew of no alternative to divorce. All they knew was that staying in the relationship was like choosing to die emotionally. After they learned new relationship skills, everything changed. What Linda learned, I always thought my husband just didn't love me or care enough when he didn't do the things I expected. I felt hopeless, like I would never get what I wanted. When I tried to talk about making things better, he just resisted and things got worse. Now I know that he was just doing what his father did. I discovered that he really did want to make me happy but just didn't understand me. By learning how to approach him differently, I find he has suddenly become a different person. He listens to me and appreciate him greatly. Not only am I happy, but he is too. What Daryl learned so many times I just didn't know. What Daryl what Daryl learned so many times I just didn't know what she wanted. When she would talk, no matter what I said, it seemed to make matter worse. When I tried to explain myself, she would just get more upset. Now I understand that she basically just wanted to be heard. I have learned to say less and listen more, and it actually works. She is so happy these days that I just want to do more for her. It is kind of embarrassing, but I suddenly feel alive again, and I didn't even know I was dying. To save their marriage, Darrell and Linda had to acquire relationship skills their parents couldn't teach them. Darrell learned the importance of responding to Linda's feelings. Linda learned the secret of keeping a man happy. As a team, they quickly improved their relationship by making small but crucial adjustments in their attitudes. Only after these minor changes are made can the big shifts in the relationship take place. The secret to the effectiveness of the techniques I share is that they do not require radical sacrifice of who we are. For example, to expect a man who doesn't talk much to suddenly open up and share is unrealistic. With a little encouragement, the same man can easily focus his energies on learning to be a better listener. When I approach in this manner, behavioral change is possible regardless of what we learn from our parents. Instead of focusing on what we can't or don't do, this book focuses on what we can do and how to do it. Many of the participants in my relationship seminars report amazing results even if their parents couldn't or in some cases wouldn't come to the sessions. By learning from their own mistakes and developing new skills for relating, the participants were able to generate dramatic and positive changes on their own. The same thinking applies to this book. Your partner does not have to read it for you to improve your relationship. The skills I shared deal with how you can begin today to get more of what you deserve in all your relationship. Certainly, change will happen faster if your partner does read it. Even if he or she is not interested, the secret of success lies in your learning and using its principles. So, how do women convince their partner to read my books? Men, after all, are very particular about the way in which they are approached. If you hand them the book and say, "You need this," it creates more resistance. But if you open the book to sections that describe men and ask your mate if what is written is really true, he may suddenly become interested. This strategy this strategy works for two reasons. First of all, men like to be experts, and you'll be approaching him as an expert on the male perspective. Second, when he hears part of this book, he will quickly realize that it is not against men, nor does it try to change them. It is 100% male friendly. In fact, women are generally amazed by the equal attendance of men at my seminars. They can't believe that they're seeing lots of males actually listening, nodding their heads in agreement, even laughing. I point out that men are just as interested in improving relationships, but require practical strategies that don't ask them to become feminine. Since the enormous success of my previous bestseller, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, thousands of relationships have improved. In the first year, my office heard from over 15,000 readers saying that the book had saved their relationship. In some of the calls or letters, readers have more questions. Practical questions like, what should I do when? Or what does it mean when? Or how do I get him? Or what should I say when? Or when do I? This book is also a response to those questions. Mars and Venus together forever answer the question that our parents could not. It points us in a new direction. It promises and delivers the necessary information for creating and sustaining loving and mutually fulfilling relationships. It offers a new seed that, when planted and watered, will grow into a relationship that is not only loving but easy. I offer this book as a collection of jewels, pearls of wisdom, and practical gems from which I have personally benefited. I sincerely hope that they work for you as they continued to work for me and the thousands of participants in my seminars. May you always grow in love and continue to share your special gift. John, Dr. John Gray. Chapter 1. What your mother couldn't tell you and your father didn't know. Once upon a time, untold ages ago, men and women were peacefully partners in a hostile and dangerous world. A woman felt loved and respected because each day her mate went out and risked his life to provide for her. She didn't expect him to be sensitive or nurturing. Good communication skills were not a part of his job description. As long as he was a good hunter and could find his way home, relationship skills were not required for a mate to be desirable. As providers, men felt loved and appreciated by women. While surviving was difficult, relationships were comparatively easy. Men and women existed in different spheres. They depended on each other in order to survive. Food, sex, children, shelter, and security motivated them to work together because the fulfillment of these basic needs require specific rules and skills. Men assumed the role of provider and protector while women specialized in nurturing and homemaking. It was a natural separation. Biology had determined that a woman gives birth and hence feel a great responsibility for raising children and creating a home. The men honored and respected her rule by agreeing to take such dangerous assignments as venturing into the wild or to hunt, or standing guard to protect her and their young. Although men would often be out for days in the freezing cold or blazing sun before making a kill, they were proud of these sacrifices because they honored the female, the life giver. Since the partnership between a man and a woman provided the basics of survival and security, their interdependence generated mutual respect and appreciation. Now, though life has changed dramatically, since we are no longer utterly dependent on each other for security and survival, the rules and strategies of our ancestors have become outdated. For the first time in recorded history, we look to each other primarily for love and romance. Happiness, intimacy, and lasting passion are now requirements for requirements. Fulfilling relationships. Happiness, intimacy, and lasting passion are now requirements for fulfilling relationship. What your mother couldn't tell you and your father didn't know is how to satisfy your partner's emotional needs without sacrificing your own personal fulfillment. This new agenda can be accomplished only through the practice of new relationship skills. Times have changed. The social and economic changes of the last 40 years have enormously affected traditional male and female roles. Women's leaving the home and entering the workforce has diminished men's traditional value to women. Increasingly independent and self sufficient, contemporary women no longer feel the same need for men to provide for or protect them. A modern woman charts her own destiny and pays her own bills. When in danger, she can pull out her mace or call the police. Most important, she now has much more control over when to have children and how many she wants. Until the discovery of the birth control pill, the widespread availability of contraceptives, women were biologically determined to have children and to be dependent on men. No more. We are just beginning to comprehend the changes in relationships that have resulted from the widespread use of birth control in the following sexual revolution. We are living in a time of dramatic transition and sexual tension. In a sense, men no longer have the job they held for centuries. They are no longer valued and appreciated as providers and protectors. Although they continue to do what they have always done, it suddenly isn't enough to make their partners happy. Women required something else, something more than their mothers did. At the same time, women are overworked. Not only are they mothers, nurturers, and homemakers, but now they are also providers and protectors. They are no longer protected from the harsh and cold realities of the work world outside the home. How can a wife be expected to be relaxed, sensitive, and pleasing to her husband when an hour before she had to fight a man for a cup? While women today no longer want to wait on a man at the end of the day, men still want what their fathers wanted, to be waited on. Times have changed, and we have no choice but to change with them. A new job description is required in relationships. New skills must be learned if a man is to feel needed and appreciated by his mate. A new awareness is required of women if they are to continue working side by side with men. They come home to a loving and nurturing relationship. New skills are required to remain feminine and also be strong. What we didn't learn. Our mothers could not teach their daughters how to share their feelings in a way that didn't make men defensive, or how to ask for support so that a man would respond favorably. They did not understand how to nurture a man without mothering him or giving too much. They did not know how to accommodate his wishes, without sacrificing their own. They were expert at pleasing their men at their own expense. In essence, our mothers could not teach their daughters how to be feminine and also powerful. They couldn't teach them how to support their partners and also get the emotional support that they deserve. Our fathers could not teach their sons how to communicate with a woman without passively giving in or aggressively arguing. Men today have no role models for leading and directing the family in a way that respects and includes their partner's point of view. They do not know how to remain strong while providing emotional support. We must not blame our parents for failing to teach us things about relationship that they could not know. Our fathers did not understand how to give the empathy and sympathy that women required today. They did not know the little things a woman requires to be fulfilled. They did not know the importance of monogamy and making a woman feel special. Our fathers simply did not understand women. Without that understanding, the contemporary male cannot develop the skills necessary to get the kind of support he now requires in his relationships. Our parents couldn't teach us the relationship skills necessary to make relationships thrive in the modern world. Just remembering this, that we could not learn these things from our families, is enough to soften your heart and forgive yourselves and your partner for the mistakes you repeatedly made. This gentle wisdom brings hope again. An overview of new relationship skills. An overview of new relationship skills. Throughout this book, I will discuss in great detail the relationship skills necessary to support our partners, new emotional needs while getting exactly what we need to be happy and enjoy lasting intimacy and passion. Even some Even if some of the ideas laid out here seem familiar or old-fashioned, they are being presented in dramatically fresh and different ways. For example, instead of simply advocating that a woman be pleasing to her man, I suggest that she pleases him by letting him please her. Instead of passively waiting on him, she learns ways in which to get the support she needs. In a sense, she is still required to help him, but with a new twist. She learned she learns how to help him help her, how to support him in supporting her mother, and how to accommodate him so that he will in turn accommodate her needs and wishes. New relationship skills for a woman require traditional abilities, but with a new twist to ensure that she'll get back what she needs. I suggest that men continue to be providers, but with a new twist. By actually doing less, a man can learn to provide the emotional support a woman needs. For example, Instead of trying to provide solutions to a woman's problem, I suggest that he do less and learn to listen with empathy. While listening with increasing empathy, it actually builds upon his ancient warrior skill of silently waiting and watching. With a correct understanding, men can become adept in this new skill by using abilities that have taken centuries to develop. Using his warrior skills, he will learn to protect himself constructively when a woman speaks. The new twist is that he learns to defend himself without attacking his partner. Relationships become increasingly difficult when we expect too much of ourselves or our partners. Relationships become increasingly difficult when we expect too much of ourselves or our partners. In education theory, to learn something new, you must hear it or apply it 200 times. If you are a genius, maybe 150 times will do. Mastering new relation skills is not immediate. Occasionally, forgetting what you have learned is perfectly normal. Old patterns and reactions do come to haunt us. Now you will understand your part of the problem instead of hopelessly blaming your partner or solely yourself. Changing for the better is sometimes hard work, but at each progressive step, it will also become easier, more rewarding, and more fun. And once learned, this skill will enrich all aspects of your life in your relationships. Anticipating setbacks. The most important relationship skill of all is anticipating temporary setbacks and acknowledging the necessity of relearning a lesson until it becomes a second nature. This understanding gives us the hope to be patient and the forgiveness to be loving. It is imperative that we do not expect our partners to always know instinctively what we need without our telling them. Although learning all the new skills may seem overwhelming at times, the process is also very exciting. As you begin to practice new relationship skills, the immediate and tangible result will give you continued cause for hope, encouragement, and support. With your very first step on the journey your parents didn't take, your relationship can dramatically and immediately improve, and gradually, with more practice, keep on getting better. Through learning these essential skills, you can achieve lasting passion, intimacy, and happiness. Passion does not have to dissipate. The happiness shared during the courting process does not have to fade. The intimacy can deepen into a source of increasing fulfillment. In the next chapter, we will explore what women need most and men really want if we are to experience lasting relationships. Excited ako for the next chapter, chapter 2. But for today, let's call it a night. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.